could I ask maybe like what did you find, why did you join, and what kind of compelled you to inquire about this, and what were you looking for at that time?
Yeah, yeah. Such a big question.
Mm.
So I've been wanting to dive into inner child work for a long time. My initial idea and intention was considering how, we don't live in an enlightened society or in this idealistic world where, there's all these amazing resources and we're being, raised in a really, I don't know, very consciously, and it's just not the reality. Our systems are in place and our parents and everything, like it's not, we haven't
Yeah.
perfected we haven't perfected
Yeah.
our existence here yet, right? So there's just so many programming that I know I have downloaded in my, subconscious, that is from family, friends, just any authority figure that was in my life growing up, like teachers, and I feel like if you want to come into your full potential, into your like genius, into your fully embodied, open self,
Yeah.
um, you need to strip away all those lies that maybe are really holding a tight grip on your, your inner world that you don't even realize.
Mm.
So I feel like the inner child course was the perfect avenue for that, because there's just so much that's happened in our younger years that
Yeah.
has a hold on us in a way that, like we don't really realize until you do the course, until you really dive in, and sort of did an amazing job at, leading these sessions. And sometimes when we'd start a session, I would be like, oh, nothing's coming to mind. I don't know what to
Mm.
even think about for this topic. But by the end, I would have this really deep clarity of something that was, inside of me that really wasn't helping me.
Mm.
And by the end of the session, I had that clarity of like, okay, now I can look at it up in the light. So now when it's triggered, I'm like, okay, this is that thing happening. So, I'm not fully
Mm.
healed and perfect now, but it's like just the awareness of all those things that we really dug up in the course.
Yeah.
That's like the best first step, because now it's like when it gets triggered, you have that
Yeah.
reference of like, okay, this is this thing, and this isn't necessarily true, and I don't need to base my next action according to this thing that is kind of holding me back. I can move past it. It's uncomfortable, but yeah, that was my intention of why I really wanted to dive in, because I could
Mm.
feel actively in my life all these things that were coming up that if I didn't have the full clarity of what it was, but I could feel this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel empowering,
Yeah.
just certain behavior patterns and insecurities. And
Mm.
yeah, so I'm like, okay. It was actually my partner too that really was like, you need to look at this, and I love you, but this has come up several times, and
Yeah.
it's not benefiting either of us.
Mm.
So that was also some nice feedback that I got that also motivated me, because it's like we work on ourselves not just for our own benefit, but for the environment that we bring to everything in our life. Um,
Mm.
so it's kind of a long-winded answer, but it's sort of the energy of why I was really excited and chose to join.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And what were some of the breakthroughs, or what were the some of the insights, or what kind of shifted in your life? I'll go through the content of more what we did in the course, but just as an overall, like what shifted?
Mm. So many breakthroughs, so many shifts. A couple that I'm really feeling in my everyday life is um, this desire to be like to be like tiptoeing around everything in life, and to really not want to cause a disturbance. um Sort of like the people pleaser, like the performer. I That was something that really came through like strong for me, that I realized I've been doing in a lot of different dynamics, and it was like muffling my ability to often stick up for myself, um
Mm.
to shift directions, even if it meant I might be disappointing somebody, but maybe I would choose to not shift directions because I didn't want to, have that difficult conversation or cause that disturbance,
Mm.
be the problem child. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, there was a lot of times in my life where, I'd continue forward doing something even if I didn't want to, for fear of sort of triggering that wound of,
Mm.
people pleasing and being a good girl. And so that's been amazing, like coming into this, new reality of feeling like I have the courage to move past that, because it's still coming up. But it's like,
Wow.
okay, it's like I have it, I can see it. It's like, okay, it's almost like through the clarity and the digging up of what we did in the process,
Yeah,
it's like I have it in my pocket now, so I can like take it out, look at it when it gets triggered, and then be like, okay, like I can move forward. This is just like uncomfortable.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've been able to really take action in my life in ways that feels so empowering, through work, through just even setting boundaries, through my, even just like personal relationships, and really just stating my needs and what I want to do, what feels good for me. Um,
So powerful.
yeah,
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
yeah, that's a big one. And
Mm.
I think the other one too is feeling like comfortable, and safe, like with my own inner adult. I feel like, um, I think I have that, how do I explain this? Like now when it gets triggered, that like fear of being alone or not being cared for, or it's like I feel like I used to have this insatiable like need for others to kind of fill that gap or
Mm.
fill that void, or even just like through like substances like food, or buying something. And now when that gets triggered, like it's still there, but it's like, okay, like I can sit through this. This is safe for me. Like I have this really strong inner adult that's like on my side now, that I feel really connected
Wow,
with, that I can just sort of lean into her instead of, reach
amazing.
for like, my partner. Not that it's not good to, I know it's perfectly normal to like reach for people and things, but it's nice to feel like I can reach for myself too. And I feel like I can do that in a far deeper capacity than prior.
Wow, that's so profound. Like that you have the adult in you that can take care of the child part and that you've got that resource and the awareness of yeah, when the pattern comes up and then able to kind of rest and rely on yourself to resource you really. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And you mentioned also something about the people pleasing and the roles. You know, I think that was in session 3, isn't it, when we discovered the roles that we take on as children and how that kind of plays out in our adult lives.
Mm,
That's also quite powerful. I found for myself the role when I discovered that I was a caretaker
mm,
in my family and how much that impacts every area of my life. And yeah, like you mentioned, that awareness of where that shows up and how that depletes me, and then stepping outside of that role is such a powerful transformation. And it affects everything. And for me, it affected all the areas of my life. Um,
totally.
yeah, that's amazing. And would you like to share a little bit about maybe some of the exercises we did and how the sessions were structured and any kind of content? I mean, Swaroop also maybe a little bit about her because she leads the sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the session outline is pretty. I feel like we kept the same structure for almost every session. So we know we would meet, we would have time for discussion and questions, which was always helpful. And it was also nice too to listen and hear what was coming up for others, because that would also show, different things that I maybe hadn't seen before in my own process.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, we'll go through sort of like a lecture of um, content. And it's very profound, like very insightful the whole time. I mean, Soru once said this, and I was so happy she said this, but I always felt like, oh, I should like write this all down. This is like crazy
Yeah.
wise, and I need to like memorize this. And Soru once said, like, and she said it early on too, like, your body and your spirit remembers everything it needs to. So you
Mm.
don't need to write anything down. So that was nice that she said that because it allowed me to surrender a little bit. But yeah, those lectures, it was like, yeah, it was like a lecture. And yeah, they were really, really amazing. And it was, of course, in topic with what we were going to do, proceed like next. And and then after that, we would do more of like a meditative journey towards really digging up what the topic of the week was.
Yeah.
And like I said before, sometimes she would bring up a topic and I'd be like totally perplexed, like I don't have anything in this and nothing's coming up. And then after, the journey that we would go on together, through various styles of meditation, and Sarup did an amazing job guiding these. I would always have really deep clarity,
Yeah.
for the specific topic that we were working on for that session.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing. And I remember when I did it, I was just like, how is this working? Like it was a bit magical for me because I was like, in such a short period of time, she had the ability to go right to the core. Well, for me anyway, I just experienced just getting right to the root of the issue
Hmm.
and then being like, oh wow, I didn't even know that about my family. I didn't know that about myself. And then just taking those 2, 3 weeks to just integrate and let that land
Mm.
was quite powerful for me as well when I did it as well.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like the gap was really beneficial because it was magical. It was like really profound, awakenings to things inside of ourselves, and then to have the this new sort of healed teaching to carry with you while you're letting it sort of dig up for the preceding weeks.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like there was just like a lot of space to really process and integrate between each session,
Mm.
which yeah, I thought that was really beneficial to have that gap.
Yeah. And how was it for you being in a group? I mean, I know that can be quite a thing. It's a small group, but how was it sharing in the group? Did you feel that you kind of created a relationship between the people or got to know them throughout the sessions? Or how was it sharing for you as well in the group kind of context?
Um, yeah, I think the group is amazing. The One of my teachers once said, from a different process that I've done before, it's also a similar dynamic where, you share with your group and everything. But yeah, my teacher said that presence allows us to witness something and then heal it. And so he would teach us that, if you have imagined like, one-on-one talking, it feels really good for me to have you be present with me and I have a sharing. But imagine if there's like 5, 10 people
Yeah.
offering their
Mhm.
presence,
Mhm.
it just amplifies that power to really, yeah, heal, and
Yeah.
so I love group work, and I think this course really exemplified that as well. Like it felt really amazing to something about like when it's your time to share and you just have like loving presence, loving eyes on you.
Yeah.
Um, it almost like, I don't know, it's just different. It's different than if you were sitting there just journaling or talking to
Yeah.
just somebody one on one.
Mhm.
It has a profound capacity, I think, to really just, it's like you have no other choice but to drop into your heart and share. And
Yeah.
yeah, I believe what he said. Like I think that, if you can be vulnerable and allow the presence of others onto your
Mm.
own wounds,
Mm.
I just think there's a
Mm.
lot of momentum and yeah, just the ability to help heal that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's my experience. I think one of the teachers that did family constellation work as well, he was talking about the field and how, like,
Mm,
when you're in this group, where we've created a field almost, and it's a safe space. It's a safe group, and that's why also before any of these sessions start or the 10 session journey, I always talk to every single person, one to one before they join, because it's almost like just clearing them to make sure that they're ready for the process, because how we are in the group impacts the whole field.
mm,
So yeah, I think this group field, and also having it over 5 or 6 months is also quite powerful because you're kind of inside of a container, isn't it? Um, Being
Yes.
held over 6 months, which is also, I think, quite beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
The importance of the container.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah, it's I think it's really powerful.
And how was Swaroop for you? Like, how was it received? Like, what was she like? And
Hmm. Sort of is
yeah,
amazing. She and something about just I don't know, she's just so has like such a maternal energy. And
yeah,
it almost felt like, oh, she was like this sort of magical like godmother figure
yeah,
throughout the process.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And yeah, she's amazing. She's incredibly wise. Really, I really adored just like sitting with her for all of the sessions.
yeah,
And yeah, I really specifically appreciated the guided meditation journeys that we'd go on together.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think she's incredible.
yeah. Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned as well, which I think is really beautiful, is when you're held in a space of just like a loving container, it can be so powerful because I really believe that like love heals. When you're in that container of love, I mean, that's the essential ingredient that we try to create in the group as well, because that's the essence of what heals, the wounds, and that's what has helped healed me.
Mm,
When I've been in groups and in trainings, and I've been held inside this kind of container of just being seen, and being seen with care and being seen with love, has helped me to heal some of my own childhood wounds. And like you said, the journey is always ongoing, but that's one of the kind of things that we like to keep in our spaces.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't usually get those containers in
No,
the society or in
no.
the world that we're living in. So, I mean, whenever I join containers like these, it's just I get filled with so much gratitude. And I've said this to you already, but just for people that are creating the structure, doing the logistical structural work behind
Yeah.
setting these up, um,
Mhm.
because I think it's so needed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds so simple, but I just think it's one of the most important things that we can give
Yeah.
ourselves in our healing journey.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And what would you say to someone who's maybe interested in joining? Because we've got another one in September. This is going to
Mm,
be on the teenage wounds. So it's a
hmm.
little bit different, but we're looking at wounds of our teenage years, which is completely different than the wounds of childhood. But someone might have never done this before, might be a bit nervous, might not sure if they'll get any value from it, might be on the fence. Like, would you recommend it? Is there something that you would say to someone who would be keen to find out about it? But yeah,
Yeah. Um, my something I would say to them is if you have a longing to live inside yourself that feels loving, supportive, open, um, and yeah, if you have a longing to shift, different narratives inside yourself that maybe don't feel as kind as they could be, I would just 100% recommend
mm,
joining something like this and really going into it with an open mind and heart and sort of like I remember for the first time I signed up for a process like this, it was like I wanted to know so much, like, well, what exactly are you doing and how exactly is it going? And I had somebody recommend one of the processes that I joined. This one
yeah,
was called Path of Love. And they were like, the most important thing to ask yourself is like, do you have an openness and a longing to heal and like come deeper into inside yourself? And like the answer was yes. And it was like, then this is for you. Like,
mm,
and then you just have to sort of go into it with an open mind and heart. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I would fully recommend this to anybody that is on that journey as well, or is longing to go on that journey of just like
yeah.
healing and coming
Amazing.
deeper, yeah, coming deeper into themselves. Did I see?
That's a great conclusion. Yeah, I was just feeling the
Mm.
same. Oh, Megan, I really, really appreciate your time and also, just coming out here and openly sharing about, your journey and what you gained from the process. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in September and, continuing this process with you. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the group or the 10 sessions or anything at all that you feel people might want to hear?
I think okay, yes, one other point that also Swaroop made throughout the process, is like you don't need to have this like specific trauma or, especially with inner child work, I feel like there's like an idea of like, you have to have like a really bad family to like
Mm,
do these groups. And it's like, that's not the case. And like I said before, it's like we don't live in that fully enlightened society. So there's programming that we're receiving from everything. And I think these processes, it's not just like, yeah, it's like deprogramming all of these things that sort of came into our field. And specifically when we were really young and we were just like a sponge to everything.
yeah.
um so yeah, and specifically for the teenage one we're doing, like I'm really excited for that one because that was at an age where I was really open. I had more freedoms around, technology
Mm,
and just I know there was so much programming, like dysfunctional programming that I sort of took in and absorbed, and I have a feeling that this will also help me sort of unpack that
yeah.
and yeah, just keep coming into my truth. And yeah, so that's my last little bit.
I love